Hi, I'm Juliet, and this is Beyond Limits. It was exciting to meet the ladies last week, and of course, my friends on this journey too. Now it's time to get down to business. We're talking about self-leadership and personal effectiveness. It all starts with a vision, and that's the focus of this session. I'll be talking to the girls about how to create a vision, having the right attitude, limiting and empowering beliefs, creating a plan around your vision, and taking action. What will people say? Does that resonate with anyone? I think that's something that is very common, and sometimes that can be maybe not necessarily a limiting belief, but something that stops you from doing what you need to do. Like, what will people say? Will people approve of me? Will people like this? Will people talk about me? And all those types of things. The what will people say? And sometimes you may find that you're probably living somebody else's life, or you're living your life according to somebody else's comments, expectations, etc., but not your own. It's important to really get centered and get real about what is my purpose? What do I want? What am I about? What do I want my life to be about? Then you're in the driver's seat. Then you're actually embarking on self-leadership. Great. Attitude is so important. I can't even stress it enough. Your attitude to life is almost like your mindset, really. It's very linked with your mindset. Your attitude and how you look at things really have an impact on how you experience life. I'll give you an example. There were some bricklayers, right? They were laying bricks. Basically, that's what they were doing every day, laying bricks. So, you know, one of the bricklayers, he looked very bored, tired. And somebody asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm laying bricks. But there was another bricklayer that was very, very energized, very enthusiastic, happy. He was doing it with so much joy and everything. And somebody asked him, "What are you doing?" He was doing exactly the same job. And he said, "Oh, I'm building the biggest cathedral in the city." Do you see the difference? That's attitude. For the first one, all I'm doing is laying blocks. There's no meaning, nothing. It just, you know, he couldn't see a higher purpose around it. He couldn't see a bigger vision around it. He couldn't see the end goal. He was just limited to that task. And so he was bored. Like, you know, what's exciting about laying bricks in his own mind? But the other one could see beyond, like, I'm contributing, I'm a part of something big. I may be a small part, but I'm an important part. I'm a part of something big. And that transformed his experience. So he could go to work energized because he had a sense of purpose. Somebody like that would take an interest in the design of the cathedral, right? Because he wants to see this big thing we're building. So he's likely to take an interest in the design. He's likely to be more excited when he sees the other parts coming up, right? He's likely to be the person that will be ready if there's an opportunity for a higher job. He is likely to be more ready because he'll probably be more informed because he took more of an interest. If I'm interviewing for a job, right, like I'm interviewing people for a job, and I have two candidates, one of them with all the experience I need, right, but the wrong attitude, and the second person, not as much experience, but can learn and has the right attitude. I kid you not. If I have to make a choice between the two, I'll go for the second person. Because there's no point having all the knowledge if people cannot work with you, if you have the wrong attitude. It's the person with the right attitude that would go the extra mile, that would want to think about how to get this done. Now, some people have an attitude that life owes me something. Life owes you nothing. Maybe not life. Some people have the attitude that somebody else owes me something. My father owes me something. My mother owes me something. My senior sister or my senior brother, they owe me something. My friends owe me something. Okay, so here's the thing. Nobody owes you anything. If you can actually get to that mindset, that headspace, it will make a lot of things easier for you. Because when things come to you, when people do things for you, it's a bonus. Life is great. And when that's not the case, you are not down and feeling betrayed and disappointed and everything. You find a way to make things work. When you have that attitude, that's when you actually take responsibility for finding the answers. Let's not live life like people owe us things. You be the one that does for others. It's okay. That means you have more to give. You have so much inside you that it overflows. And the truth is, when you're able to give, it's a big statement that you have the capacity to take more. And so more gifts, more blessings, more talent, everything, it flows through you. That's how it works. If that's something that you could capture in your vision board or a flavor of that, the fact that life has given you everything you need. Life owes you nothing. People owe you nothing. You've been given, you're healthy, you're all here looking fantastic. A lot of people, there are a million people that if we put a list of things that are not as privileged as you are, even though you may be thinking you are not privileged, there's probably a list of people. You're all wearing shoes. I don't see anyone that came here with their bare feet. So, perspective, attitude, so important. My invitation to you is to be here, present here with the right attitude, but also in other areas of your life. In the way you are with family, in the way you are with colleagues, in the way you are with friends. It makes a huge difference.
Attitude. Irrespective of having so many skills and whatever, if one doesn't have a positive attitude, it's really difficult to achieve your dream. So today, I have learned that positive attitude is key in achieving your vision.
So there's one thing I'm going to invite you guys to do later on, and that is to create a vision board. Who's familiar with the term vision board? So this is just, there's nothing complex about it. It's just it can be a board like this, and you're all going to be getting one of these. I have 2 of these in my house, actually. And it's just a board where you put up either pictures or text, things that remind you and inspire you towards your vision. It's a way of just making it alive, making it very present, making it real. I'm going to give you one story that someone shared. There's this movie, The Secret. Who's seen it? Okay. It's really about the law of attraction and attracting things into your life. So this guy, he wrote a book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's a very popular book. It's a book of inspirational stories. And when he first wrote the book, he was just doing averagely, and he was working with a coach. So the coach said, I want you to set a vision, a goal that is so big that if you achieve it, you'll know that you were only able to achieve this because of what we worked on together. And so he said, okay, by the end of this period of time, and it was a year actually, by the end of a year, I want to earn $1 million income. And so he created a vision board. What he did was he wrote a check for $1 million to himself and put it on the board. And also on the ceiling, so he went the extra mile. He actually put it, over his bed so that whenever he woke up at night, he saw it, and last thing before going to sleep, he would see it and all that. So it was very, very present for him. And he just kept, there were some things he would say to himself to remind him and to build his confidence around the fact that I can earn $1 million in 1 year. And for the first 30 days, he just stuck at it. Nothing magical happened, right? And then one day he was in the shower, And he just had this idea. He had written this book, Chicken Soup for the Soul. It was there gathering dust, right, on his shelf. And he just had this idea that, actually, if 100,000 people buy this book at $10 per person, per book, that would be $1 million. And he was invited to speak at an event. So actually, before the event, he went to the petrol station to buy fuel. Normally, he would go there and just, nothing would stand out. But this particular day, he looked at the newspaper. There was a stand where they have newspapers, and the National Enquirer, that was a local newspaper, that jumped out at him. So he bought a copy, and he was reading through. He saw the type of content, and it occurred to him that actually, if the readers of this magazine, if they know about my book, I'll be able to get 100,000 people to buy it, because it has a wide reach and it has millions of viewers, And then he was invited to give a talk at an event. He gave the talk, and the lady came up to him immediately after and said, "Oh, I love that. That was a great talk. I'd like to interview you." And he said, "Who do you write for?" And the lady said, "The National Enquirer." And it was like bells and whistles in his head, like, da-na-na-na-na, And he said what was interesting was he had been going to that petrol station for years. Nothing jumped out at him. But because he was very committed to this vision, he believed it, and it was very present for him, he was also able to see the signals that were coming.
Empowering belief. I believe that since I have the strength, the good health, and I'm hardworking, I can do it.
So can you share with me some limiting beliefs that you have or that you've heard other people express?
The limiting belief is how I can raise funds. I feel I don't know how to go about raising funds to achieve what I want to achieve.
Okay.
It's one thing to know it. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to start it.
Very good. Very good. And I'm glad you mentioned that, and I deliberately asked the question, because there's a reality that you need funds to get things done. So that's actually not even a limiting belief. It's a reality. It's true. It's not a limiting belief. It's a fact, that for you to get some things done, you do need a certain amount of capital. Where the limiting belief might be is I don't have what it takes to raise funds. I can never raise funds. It's not people like me that that people would give money to, or I don't have a godfather that would give me the money. That's what the limiting belief would be. But if there's a recognition that, yes, I need funds, then when we're looking at planning, one of those things I talked about is, what are the things I need to do? Okay, I need to learn about how do you go about funding a business. People who have successfully, because not many people started with a big pile of cash, right? A lot of people went through a journey. How did they do it? What did they start with that I can learn from? What do I have that I can put in place to start to give me maybe some, depending on what the business is and what the idea is, maybe if I can get some early results, then with those early results, I can get somebody's vote of confidence to invest in the business. Those types of things. So there's work to be done, and there are things to learn, and that's a fact, and it's good to recognize that. But the fact of it is not the limiting belief. The limiting belief is just that belief that because I don't have a godfather, I can never raise funds. Because that sort of thing. Do you get the difference?
Yes.
Perfect. Because there's some things that are facts of life. We're not here to do wishful thinking, kid ourselves, this. No. Some things are facts of life, and it's good to recognize that. But then, given that fact, what do you do? That's the difference.
What was put in my head? Jack of all trades, master of none. I'm a person that likes to learn.
Who put that in your head?
Actually, some persons, and even my father, you'll be like, you want to learn everything, and you're not even perfect in one. And I was like, I must be perfect in one, whether you like it or not. I always thought that my father owed me something, and I was always angry with him. So at the time, I started believing that, and I'll be like, in fact, let me just drop all these things. And at the time, I picked up myself. I was like, no, my father can't control what I want because he has always wanted me to study law, and I said no. I picked up something. After learning the kitchen, makeup, Ankara slippers and bags and all that, it was not really in my favor. Like, I was not really passionate about it. Then I thought of something. I thought of myself, I was like, I love fashion. Why don't I go into something that would bring out that fashion in me? That was when I went into fashion and designing. So my limiting belief was what was put in my head. And me being empowered or empowering myself. My fashion and designing is really moving forward, and I'm so proud about it.
Okay. So, I love the passion that you expressed. What's the limit? I'm going to ask you a question to follow up with. What's the limiting belief there?
Was my fear
What fear?
of thinking that I don't know how to do anything.
Okay. You said something about jack of all trades.
Yes.
Was that you were trying to do everything? That's what I thought. Is it that you were trying to do everything? Or just because you've talked about fashion, that's one thing. That's one thing. So that's focus.
Yes.
But you were talking about jack of all trades, which is almost like you're just putting your hand in everything. No.
Yeah, actually, like I said earlier, I love learning. I just see one thing and pass. No, I want to let me see how that thing is going.
Empowering beliefs help you to forge on. So, and you can turn a limiting belief to an empowering belief, and you just did that, which is actually, I have many interests, and that's fine. I still have those interests, but I can also focus on something, put my energy into it, and make it work. So let's talk about empowering beliefs. What would be some examples? Let me give you an example, just another example. You guys know Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator. Okay, some of you know him. Popular actor. He mentioned, and I heard him say this, when he first went to the US, it was like everything was against him. You know, he has a strong Austrian accent. That's not like a Hollywood accent. So, but he wanted to be an actor. And people laughed at him, you know, because when he spoke, it's like, what movie are you going to play? That's one. Two, he also said he came across as slow. People just saw him as not very sharp, etc., because of the way he spoke, you know. And even his size, you know, it's not like, not many roles need that sort of, he was a bodybuilder, he had a lot of muscles and everything. So he said many things were against him. But he's one of the most popular actors in Hollywood today. He did Terminator 1, 2, 3, and all kinds of action films. It turns out, I mean, if you're playing robots, then it actually helps if you speak, quote unquote, funny, right? So what would have been a disadvantage turned out to be a strength and an advantage for him. The bodybuilding attributes also became a strength. And these are his own words. I'm not just making this up. I saw him on stage talking about this, that all these things were stacked up against him, but they actually became the doorway to his success.
This section, I realized that don't blame anyone for your problems, or the world does not owe you anything. Now I realize that I, myself, am the problem, and I need to move forward.
I was able to outline in writing what is limiting me from hitting that goal, because I have so many visions mapped out, but something is just limiting me, intimidations and all that. But today I was able to outline it.
So the fourth concept we're going to talk about is planning and execution. And we're going to get very practical about this. We talked about creating a vision, and you're going to have time after this to actually think through, throughout the week, to really think through what we talked about and crystallize your vision. But a vision without a plan is like wishful thinking. I have some quotes that I find very interesting. First of all, vision without execution is just hallucination. Yes, you have the vision, this dream and everything. It's all great. But what then brings it home is a solid plan. So for every area of your life where you want to achieve something, you need a plan. A very solid plan, a comprehensive plan that includes what needs to happen by when. It needs to be specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be timely. You need to have a timeline associated with it. It needs to be realistic. We talk about SMART objectives. Who's heard that term? SMART objectives. SMART, S-M-A-R-T. The S is for specific. So very, very clear what you're trying to achieve. The M is for measurable, something you can measure. Like, you know, if you have a goal like, I want to improve my self-confidence, how do you measure it? You need to look for something to anchor, with which to anchor it. Otherwise, how do you know you're making progress? So maybe it's something like, I'm going to get 3 public speaking engagements where I stand in front of people and I talk. That's one way of measuring that. I'm pushing myself forward and I'm getting more, I'm building my confidence. Maybe I'm going to walk up to this, my business plan that I've had for all this time. I haven't been confident enough to approach anybody to share it. I'm actually going to pick 2 people and I'm going to share my plan with them before the end of this month or before the end of this week. So it needs to be measurable. Then the A is for achievable. That's that it needs to be something that you can achieve. So there's no point setting yourself up for failure. There's no point being unrealistic, which is the 4th part, R, that it's realistic. And then T, it's timely. So objectives, any goal that you set as part of your plan, I'm going to be looking out for those things. Is it specific enough? Is it measurable? Is it timely? Is it achievable? Those kinds of things. And when you create your vision and your plan, think about 1 year. So a year from today, I want us to have, whilst you have something that you're working on for a year out, let's also have some tangible deliverables for the 8-week period. Because that also builds your confidence. That sets you off. Then you know, okay, fine, within the 8 weeks, I set out to do this and I achieved it, and then this is the rest of my plan. You may be thinking, oh, I'll master this subject in 2 weeks, or I'll learn this skill in 2 weeks, and then you find out it's taking you 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That's okay. Or you tried something out, maybe you said, I'm going to get my first sale. And then you speak to someone, you speak to 5 people, they all just seem very uninterested, you don't make that sale. Those are all learning opportunities, and rather than allowing those to weigh you down, the important thing is that you keep going. So that's what I'll be looking for you to do as your exercise this week, and we'll review that next week.
I can't wait to get into action in the vision board, which will be starting next week.
What I've learned so far today is that there is no limitation to what I can achieve in life. If only I am determined, I can achieve whatever I want to achieve. And also, I should remove any negative limitations that will prevent me from achieving all my goals.
I'm delighted being here today in Beyond Limit. I've learned so much. And one thing I say to myself that I'm going to take home today is the aspect of action after you plan, that we should avoid procrastination, because it's one thing that kills us most. So I will make sure I put effort in everything I do, and to make sure I have my final act